Section 9.1 is on polar coordinates. So we have a new coordinate system called the polar coordinate system. The origin is a fixed point O, and it's called the pole. The polar axis, an initial ray from the pole, it's usually horizontal, and then directed toward the right, okay? So when I get to some graph paper, I'll show you what we're talking about with the polar axis. Points look like an ordered pair, but the first one is your R. This is the distance from the pole to the point, and then theta, and this is your argument, this is your angle that you're going from the horizontal. So R is the directed distance from the pole to the point. Theta is the directed angle from the polar axis to the actual ray. Okay? If theta is positive, we go counterclockwise, or if it's negative, we go clockwise, same as we did when we had plain old angles. If R is positive, like the magnitude, the point lies on the terminal side of theta. But now we have something, if R is negative, you actually go backwards, okay? So if you have the point R theta, this is my polar axis, this is my pole, here's my theta, here's my R. If I had negative R theta, I would be going in this direction, that distance, okay? So I'd be going backwards. So here is some polar graph paper. This is what it looks like. This is my pole. This is my polar axis. And we're going to start from here, and we're either going to go clockwise or counterclockwise, clockwise or counterclockwise. The first thing that they have you do in the homework is just graphing points, okay? So this is 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, and so on. If you notice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is divided into 6 parts. So halfway, 45 degrees, and then each of these is 15. So this is 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and then of course we have our 90. Now this is in degrees, okay? Radians, it's going to be in a fraction. You'd have, this is pi 12ths, pi 6th, pi 4ths, and pi 3rds, and then this would be, let's see, 5 pi 12ths, and then pi halves, okay, in radians. And so you might want to take a circle and write out the degrees and then write out the radians so that you have those fractions easily accessible to yourself. These all come into the middle. Some polar graph paper will not draw in these center lines if you're printing some polar graph paper off the internet, or if you look at the polar graphs that are in your book, they don't actually go all the way to the pole. And the reason for that is because of this big black circle. You get all these little tight lines really tight together, and it makes a big black dot. And it's just that it's so tight that that's how it fits, okay? So some of them eliminate everything inside this first circle, but this is still 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, and 6 units, okay? So if I had to plot something that was greater than 6, I would have to change my scale. So the first thing that they want us to graph is the point 2 and 45 degrees. So I go to 45 degrees and I go out 2 units, and that is my point, okay? I start from my polar axis, I go 45 degrees counterclockwise, and then I go out, so my length is 2. Negative 2.5, 240, okay? So this is 270, so this is going to be 240. This would be 225 here, it's halfway, so this is 240. But when I come to 240 degrees, I need to go a negative 2.5. So I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to go backwards 2.5. And there's my point. Okay. 3, negative 30. So I'm going to go a negative 30 degrees. So I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to go out 1, 2, 3 units. Radians. Okay, this is 1 pi thirds, or excuse me, this is pi sixths, this is 1 pi thirds, and then 2 pi thirds would be right here. Okay, this is 1/3, this is 2/3, this would be 3/3. And then I want to go 1 1/2. So I'm going to go 1 1/2. And a common mistake on the graph paper where there's nothing inside here is people start here and they count this as 1, but this first circle is 1 unit, 2 units, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. Okay. Pi halves, -1, so I go to pi halves, and I'm going to go backwards 1 unit, so I'm actually going to go down. And then this one I have 4 -5 pi sixths. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is -5 pi sixths here. I'm going clockwise. And then I'm going to come out 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. If you look at the very first example, they don't have you actually plotting, they don't do the examples on graph paper. All of the homework can all be done on a polar coordinate. It'll save you time. These are something that can't necessarily be done on paper, and you need polar graph paper. So